everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the fourth edition of the World Women Hour, where we will learn today from the best of the best. And without further ado, I would like to introduce or have the panelists, our esteemed panelists, introduce themselves. Laura, would you like to begin?
Sure. My name is Laura Kreiss, and I'm CEO of Change Giving. I started a company for change in 2020.
My name is Zuri Hall. I am an Emmy Award-winning television host, currently hosting on Access Hollywood on NBC, and a show during the summers called American Ninja Warrior. Oh, we have a couple of Ninja fans. What's up? How y'all doing?
I am Amanda Henry. I'm Vice President of Business Development and Women's Wellness at a company called Therabody, the company that made the Theragun.
I love that.
My name is Erika Bennett, and I am the CEO of my own company called Conscious Culture Creative, but spent a number of years in the tech, media, and entertainment space. Little thing called Facebook and YouTube.
She said my own company. I know that's right.
Yay! Give it up for our panelists. And to get started, the opening question, how do you interpret the concept of power? And how does it influence the way you navigate both your personal and professional life? And we'll start with Erika.
Thanks. Well, the concept of power for me is really important because I'm in a season of transition. Last year, I was at a major magazine for Black women and left and started my own company. And I think for me, what I've had to think about a lot is sort of reclaiming my narrative around success and not allowing others to define that for me. So I'm not sure how you ladies grew up, but I grew up with a pretty awesome but strict mom who very much rewarded good grades and, you know, if you were the president of this club and et cetera. And she was very proud of that. And I was too, and I think it served me well. But what it created in me was this interesting dynamic with success that I had to be producing to be successful. And what I've realized is that I can exist. I can be a success as a good sister, as a good partner, as a good daughter, as a good global citizen. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I very similarly, I grew up with a Caribbean family, so
Yeah.
I think that's maybe kind of the poster child of any immigrant family. They're just like, you must succeed at all costs. I think my definition and the way I kind of think about power is, especially this new generation, I am so inspired by because they're really not putting up with much. And I think, I'm not going to age myself here, but I'm of the generation of like, okay, let's assimilate, let's get in there, let's not cause a fuss. And I think through going through corporate America, being Canadian, moving to the US, growing up in Europe, I have a lot of kind of dynamics happening. But for me, the biggest thing that I've noticed is that, and it might have been the editor of Ebony that said this, go where your who is best. And I think what's really important is if you do not feel empowered in the spaces that you're in, you have the option to change your spaces, as opposed to staying in establishments, in companies, in relationships where you don't feel you have power. Gone are the days of being like, this is the best thing for X versus this is the best thing for me. So I think kind of deciding where you are best, I think in its sheer, defiance gives you power.
Mm-hmm. Snaps for me. I couldn't agree more. I'm sensing a theme. I think that will be here on the stage today. When I think of power, I think of being able to say no and that be a full sentence. And that was something that I really struggled with for most of my life, as a high-functioning people pleaser, reformed people pleaser at this point, as someone who sought recognition and worth through achievement for a really long time. I was a shy kid, so achievement was a way that I got attention because I was too shy to just go up and say, hi, I'm Zuri. but I could like get an academic scholarship or memorize all of the lines to that script or whatever it was and then go on a stage or have a camera roll, and then maybe you'll talk to me. Maybe you'll be the first person to say hello, right? And so for a little while, I found my power through performance, and I realized that that was a really exhausting way to live because you're only as good as your last performance. And my probably life journey will be making peace with existing, to your point, and that being more than enough. And I've been really intentional about choosing spaces, choosing relationships, choosing friendships where just being is enough. And I've said that I feel most powerful, and I know that I'm in spaces intimately that I belong when I can be silent, when I don't have to say anything or do anything, because there's no performance in that. You can't sell yourself in that. And to sort of land the plane, back to that idea of no, I think there's so much power in knowing yourself, because you don't know what to say yes or no to if you don't understand your own why. And for the longest, my why was just because they want me to, because they'll be impressed, because they'll applaud. And once I figured out what my personal why was, it was much easier to have a North Star that guides my life, all areas of it. The romantic relationships I choose, the career opportunities I choose, and it makes my no's much easier because it's not like, oh, was that the right decision? Was it not? I'm empowered because I know it wasn't the right decision, because that yes would not have served my why. So I just encourage everyone to figure out what that why is for them, and then be unapologetic in saying no to the things that don't serve that.
Power. What a word. What does it mean, really? Do we really even know what power is? I have a hard time answering that question, but I'm going to go in depth of what I think power is. And to me, power is finding your purpose and passion. To me, power is really living a meaningful life. When I go back in time and I think of the times that really marked my life, the most incredible time of my life, hardest but the biggest growth I had was when my husband was diagnosed with lung cancer. I was 2 months pregnant, and he was a very successful businessman, designer, and so forth. And he said, you know, Laura, there is one thing that I didn't get to do. And I said, what is it? His name was Michael. And he said, Mike, I said, you know, you live such an incredible life. And he said, you know, with all the relationships I had and all the success I had, I could have made a bigger difference. And I didn't. And at this time, he had about 3 weeks to live. And I thought, when my time comes, I don't want it to be that way. I want to make sure that I lived a purposeful life. And so to me, power turns into, if I have to maybe give it a name, I just think it's such a broad concept that it's hard to really group into a small conversation. But I mean, for me, power is purpose and passion. So living a purposeful life and turning your pain into passion is also a beautiful thing. So that, I hope that answers that question. It's very difficult to really grasp it.
They're all wonderful insights, all of you. Now moving on to the next question, in your opinion, what are some of the most significant obstacles that women face when attempting to change their narratives and claim their power? And Laura, we'll start with you and then go down the line the opposite way.
I might circle back to that. Maybe the power lies into attitude. Maybe the story started one way, but we can change the ending. Maybe we have the ability to discover the power within ourselves. So I think I'll end with that.
Okay. I think one of the biggest obstacles to sort of claiming one's own narrative these days is everyone else's projections and the boxes that they try to put us in, right? Like everyone, no matter what you do at this point, has a personal brand. Everyone's got a platform, whether you're behind the scenes, whether you're on camera, whether you're in corporate America or a creative. We are in a world where everyone expects you to be able to have an elevator pitch and say who you are and then put it online for public consumption, and then they'll judge whether or not you actually get to be that thing, or if you do it well. It's like, okay, well, what was the point of all that? And so I've found that that's been my biggest struggle for a long time, back when I was sort of figuring out who I was versus who maybe the public thought I was or should be, who my family or my parents thought I should be, who my partner thought I should be, and trying to convince people that you are not what they think, or that you are something that you believe to be true. Like, that's been the most difficult thing when it comes to claiming one's narrative. I've found that right back to that idea of knowing oneself and really getting clear on my core values and how they show up in the work that I do and how I show up in my interpersonal relationships. Like, I've finally gotten to a point where that's enough. And I've just had to make peace with being misunderstood. And there is so much more peace in not feeling a need to explain myself or explain a decision publicly or privately, because the people who know my heart and know me, we can offline and have those conversations. And if we're not close enough to offline and have those conversations, I genuinely couldn't care less what you think at this point in my life. So that's how I've sort of wrapped my mind around making peace with the narrative being pervaded, if you will.
Yeah, this question. I think what's really interesting is I think the biggest obstacles really are ourselves a lot of the time, and really believing that we're worthy and we can do. And then also, taking peace in the journey, because when you're building your narrative, when you're changing your narrative rather, was the question, and trying to build whatever you feel that you want to create in your life. That's when the resistance happens. That's when things really start not going your way. That's when the world throws a lot of things at you to challenge that belief. And I think if we steadfast ourselves, really similar to what Zuri says, if you're really still and really take the time to get to know the purpose, the why, and your destination, and really hold on to that, that is going to be the thing that really propels you forward. Because full transparency, my husband was the founder and creator of the Theragun, and building this business together, let me tell you, our families, our friends, people that were the closest to us were like, what are you doing? This is insane. No one's gonna buy into that. What are we doing here? You guys have degrees, like, what's happening? So going back to who you are, what you're trying to do, and how you're trying to get there, if you keep holding on to that, no matter what the world throws at you, that is the way I feel like you break through.
I think I had to change my relationship with rules. So similar to what Zuri talked about, rules served me in a lot of great ways growing up, but I realized as I got older, I just had random rules for no reason. Like, orange juice can only be drank in the morning. Just really crazy rules. And there are rules that are a little bit more normal that tell us that, if we don't check every box on a job description, we can't apply for it. When I've got my male friend being like, I checked one of those, I'm gonna apply, see what happens. And so I think for me, as I'm stepping into a new chapter and thinking about this new era to like dream and figure out what I want to do, it is really about shifting my relationship with rules and understanding that I have permission to break rules that are kind of arbitrary anyway. So.
Those are all excellent answers. Thank you. Moving on to the next question. What strategies or approaches have you found the most effective in challenging societal norms and stereotypes that limit women's power and agency? And we're going to start with you, Erika, now at the opposite
Can you
end.
repeat that one more time?
Right? I was like, hold on.
Okay, what's the justice?
Run that back.
Well, we can go in the middle and work our way around if it's too easy.
Please don't let her make me go first.
Yeah.
Still processing the
I'm
question.
fine to go first.
Okay.
Can we get it one more time, though?
Yeah,
for the room.
Do you want to
For the room.
Okay.
Wait, no,
And then-
can you just repeat the question one more
Okay.
time?
Well, Zuri, do you want to start and then we'll go?
If you repeat the question.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, what strategies or approaches have you found most effective in challenging societal norms and stereotypes that limit women's power and agency?
Ooh, my pits started sweating. Just like hearing that question. Erika, girl, I was trying to give you the assist. I think I'm throwing it back.
I think it's having the courage to be audacious. I think sometimes, like I said, going back to the notion of rules, I think a lot of times our rules teach us we have to show up a certain way and we have to be a certain way. And so it really, it's sad that we have to have courage, but to have the courage to just be audacious and to be so reckless in that audacity that we can break those stereotypes, those norms, and really serve our best interests. So, I think it's about courage.
And I think that's a really good point. And to your point of audacity, right? I think piggybacking on that, so thanks for taking the lead on this.
Got you, girl.
But to piggyback on that in all seriousness, I think it only takes one to start, one with that audacity, one with that, no, that's not true. No, that doesn't feel right. No, actually, that doesn't serve me, and I'm opting out of that narrative. And then after one comes a second, and then a third, and then suddenly you have a small group or a community, and then suddenly you look up and you have a revolution on your hands, right? And I think that's the way that a lot of ideas get turned on their heads and a lot of narratives get tossed out. And to Amanda's earlier point about Gen Z, I think they do an incredible job of that. I think it's a really interesting time to be on the internet and on social. We see so many tiny little niches, so many little bubbles and pockets of community. And in one sense, it's a little bit frustrating because it's like, who am I communicating to? It used to be so easy to say a thing, cast a wide net, and bring people in. But now people are like, no, I need you to get hyper specific with who you are, what you believe, what the vibe is, so I can decide if I want to opt in or not, because there are 10 other options for me to be a part of community. But the great side of that coin is I get that opportunity too. I get to go find the spaces that make sense for me, the spaces where I feel like I belong. And so when we're turning narratives on their head, I think it becomes much easier now that we have this digital world in which one or two people can be brave enough to be like, I'm not hearing a lot of this unpopular opinion, but this is what I think. Does anybody else think this? And then as that voice grows louder, that collective voice, I think it does help to sort of reshape narratives.
Okay. Amanda? Stacy or Amanda, do you want to add some?
Laura? My name is Laura. Stacy's over there. Stacy, come on up. I think what's most powerful is education. I think a lot of the outcomes that we have, that we face, that we see, that we experience is just a lack of education. Not necessarily book education, but it's truly the inability we have to want to, and fear maybe. We've been given so much fear throughout the news and different source of media that have educated us to believe that maybe one race is this and another one is that and so forth. And I think it's just a lack of education and us taking the time to really learn about other cultures, about other people. So my answer to that would be power is education. And same for women. If you really want to succeed in a field, to get to know your craft, to get to know your work and your environment to the T, to perfection, to have the knowledge, to want to strive. If we want a real place in society and we want a real place to be able to compete, I think we really need to compete, and education is very powerful. So that would be my answer.
Everybody has said a lot of things, and I'll keep it really concise. Go into spaces that are uncomfortable. Yeah. I think we're really good at staying comfortable. I feel like all of our lives are automated in one sense or another, and we don't like to go into discomfort anymore. So go into the places that are uncomfortable, because usually those are the places we need to be, and breakthrough happens.
Moving on, looking ahead, what do you envision as the impact of women changing narratives and claiming power on future generations and the broader society? So So like inspiration. Yeah. These stories inspire, kind of.
Well, I think Zuri, you talked about it in your last answer, right? I think it's creating room for others to feel empowered to take control of their narrative, right? Oh, this person doesn't agree with us, so I feel more comfortable in my own skin saying I don't agree as well, until you create a groundswell there.
Okay. Well, the next question is actually a fill in the blank, and it's very straightforward. And I think we're going to get some good answers. And okay.
He's like, stop shooting the messenger. What?
Power can be used as a tool for, and then fill in the blank. And who wants to go first?
Oh,
I don't want to put anyone in.
go. Fine. Ooh, look at it.
Okay.
You got to draw. You got it, Amanda.
All right, thank you. I'll keep it simple as always, but power can be used as a tool to power the empowered. And I think
I know you did not just steal my answer.
we're on the same wavelength. I'll leave it at that.
Expand. No. We were back. First of all, Amanda and I are friends. We go back for like a decade. Yes, that's it. I think power is used to empower people because, I've said our gifts and the things that we have, the things that we're blessed with are of no use unless we're reaching back and we're pulling up. And so I don't particularly see much of a point in having power if you don't use it to, empower those around you. So, same.
I think power is the ability to influence and make a change, maybe make a difference. So I think we're all very powerful beings, and our behavior matters. Our words matter. We set up an example for others every day with our kids, with our friends, with our. So I think starting with ourselves is a very influential way to enforce our power, because we are powerful beings. As weak and as little as we can be, that a virus could kill us within hours, we are very powerful, and we have that ability to make a difference. And I would challenge all of us to do that and to use that power within ourselves on a daily basis.
Okay. So final question, and this is very casual. How do we inspire the next generation of females to be fearless and to claim their power? Just very straightforward.
I think by not forcing them to participate in a society that makes them perform for self-worth. I think by encouraging them to be who they are, and by loving them just as they are, and by helping them prioritize things like play, things like rest,
yes.
things like imagination, things like creativity, that those have just as much value as good grades, that those have just as much value as you being captain of the president of the whatever, is the way that we not only encourage and empower them, but we change the overall narrative.
Excellent answer. Anyone else? Inspiring the next generation.
I would say to the next generation to find their purpose and their passion, and then back it up by a ton of education, so that you become a really powerful being. And then I like to share something. My husband carried in his wallet for many years a fortune cookie that we found years later. He passed away 12 years ago, and I have two boys, and one of my sons says, "Mom, can we go and do you have Dad's wallet?" And I said, "Yes, I do actually. I haven't seen it in years, but it's in the safe." So I just saved it for emotional purposes, obviously. He was an amazing guy. And so we opened the wallet, and the first thing, it's interesting because this is what this is about today. The first thing that was in there was that fortune cookie that reads, "Find the power within yourself." And I think that's such a phenomenal concept and so incredible to talk about, because right now we're living in an era where everything is about what is everybody else is doing and who has more followers and who's succeeding. And I think we're going to reach a time and a place where we're going to get so sick of that. People are getting depressed and lonely for stupidity. Everybody takes that photo on a moment where, it's, everybody's having a great time and, feeling left out. And I love to invite everyone to really find the power within ourselves and to break those barriers off all this stuff that the media feeds us, and to get to know each other, to get to learn each other's culture. My best friend in life is a Hall of Famer football player who later on stepped in as a dad to my kids, and not as a dad, but he's my best friend since we were 16. I was an up-and-coming tennis player. He was an up-and-coming football player. And it's such a beautiful relationship, and he's been there for my kids since they were 2 and 5, and now they're 18 and 14, and it's just such a beautiful interracial relationship. I adore him, and those stories are never told. And I think that we need to educate ourselves. We owe it to ourselves to really read about other people, about other cultures, travel, get to know them, make an opinion for yourself. Don't just be so easily swallowed into this monster of social media and news that we're fed. People are really beautiful and they're wonderful. And we're just kind of looking at each other like, who are you? We're not supposed to be talking. And, I would just invite everybody to really use that. We're powerful beings. Let's turn it into a positive, powerful, new world.
Anyone else? Amanda?
Yeah, I would say when it comes to girls, I would say, we tend to raise our girls and empower our boys. And I would kind of really look at that. I think there was a stat I read recently that said girls, I think around the age of 12 to 15, start dropping out of sports. And it's not because they don't have the ability or they're not good, but it's body image. Like what? And I think it starts from very young. I think if we start to empower our girls the way we empower our boys, as opposed to raising our girls the way we think they should be raised, I think it will change a generation. And going back to what you said, really letting women and girls be who they are, nurturing their talents. If they're into anime, if they're into sports, if they're into STEM, if they're into nature, whatever it is, let them be them. Because I feel like now with social media, we lose a lot of our childhood. There's a lot out there. And I think if we stay true to who we feel our kids should be, that puts a hindrance on who they could be. So that would be my best.
Anyone else?
I mean, I just couldn't, that was incredible. I couldn't agree more with all of you. I think it's all beautiful, and particularly the idea of letting kids in general. I mean, I think it's also not even just a question of how our girls are being brought up, but are we teaching our boys and the other young children how to support these girls on their journeys to becoming women out in the world, I think that accountability goes both ways. And so I would hope that we can get to a place where as a society, the burden of responsibility is not just on the girls who will become women and the women who are raising them. It'd be great if the boys and the men around us took that responsibility on as their own also, so that we were all sort of active participants in that.
Okay. Well, I think that is a nice way to close the panel. I want to thank our esteemed panelists, and thank you everyone in the audience for coming and, listening to these wonderful insights. And also I want to remind you all to please follow the World Women Fund on social media and use the hashtag POWHER, and let us know how you want to inspire people to make change for a better world. Thank you.